Hello, I'm Charmaine Champ and I'm a continence consultant and trainer specialising in continence, sleep and behaviour assessments for children with autism, a learning disability and complex needs. During my series of short videos, I have been able to share when and where to start with potty and toilet training. But what about children who will not sit on the potty or the toilet, or who are unable to sit comfortably or even long enough to actually pass a wee or a poo? During this video, I am continuing my support in sharing what the correct position for passing a wee and a poo is, and how you can encourage your child to sit on the potty and the toilet, as well as exploring the possible reasons why children can find it difficult to sit. So we're ultimately looking at supporting you, the family, carer or professional, in working towards being successful with potty and toilet training for your child. Achieving the correct position for sitting on the potty or toilet is all about having your knees above your hips and your feet flat. So why? Well, because it's all about the anal rectal angle, and that's being about the correct position. So I thought I'd give you a little example. So first things we need to do, we need to stand and make sure we sit right back in the seat. Obviously this is just a sofa, but we should pretend that this is the toilet or the potty. So we want to sit right back in the seat. We then want to get our knees above our hips. So we need to have a footstool. So what we want to do is get our knees above our hips. And then we want to be able to lean forward. This will then be the correct position for sitting on the potty or the toilet. So once in position, the aim is to sit for a minimum of 1 minute, increasing to a minute per year. And this is where a sound timer or alarm can be used, and you as a parent can confirm when the alarm goes off or the sound reaches the bottom. Then this is when you need to get off the potty or the toilet, and then we can go and do something nice afterwards. When thinking about how to occupy children on the potty or toilet long enough to be able to actually pass a wee or poo, we need to think about what we use. So we need to remember we only want our children to be sitting for a short amount of time at regular opportunities in the day, and we only need activities that will actually last a few minutes. And we also need to build the association with the bathroom and the toilet area. So activities need to be different from what they would have been in any other time or any other parts of the home. So we need to make the toilet activities special. So with families I support, I always recommend keeping a bag of activities in the bathroom next to the potty or the toilet, or at the back of the door, sort of hanging the bag, just hang at the back of the door. So these can become the potty toys or the toilet toys, and should only be used in the toilet area and not to be taken anywhere else. I also recommend rotating or changing the activities every other day or once a day if required, to try and keep and maintain your child's interest. And these then form part of a potty or toilet motivation. So activities can include books, picture books, light and sound books, sticker books, fidget toys, spinny toys, or any sort of sensory type toys, just to name a few. There are many factors that can affect children sitting on the potty or the toilet, including internal and external factors. So one of the external factors affecting toileting success include equipment. So if your child is using the toilet but is unable to have their feet flat on the floor, or is perched on the edge of the toilet seat through fear of falling in, then your child is either going to avoid the toilet area, hold on to their wee or poo, or if they do sit, not sit long enough upon the toilet to actually pass a wee or poo. So equally, when considering children with autism, a learning disability or complex needs, some children experience difficulties in supporting their bodies and posture, resulting in leaning back to resting upon the toilet system, or even leaning forward or to the sides, or the toilet is just not safe for them to sit on. Sometimes children develop a fear of the bathroom or the toilet area as well. So it's therefore really vital that all children feel safe and secure when sitting upon the toilet and understand the toileting process. To help children feel safe and secure and understand the process of using the toilet, we can introduce a footstool or toileting step ladder and can support the correct position. We can also introduce a seat insert and can ensure your child can feel safe upon the toilet. We can look at a padded toilet seat and can promote the toilet being comfortable. And we can also look at a pull-down frame, or a toilet frame can promote security in lowering onto the toilet. Or, following an assessment and support from an occupational therapist, additional support seat supports are available and can support children's postures further. Please have a look at the pictures that Uncle will follow. To help children understand the process of toileting and reduce fears and anxieties about actually being in the toilet or the bathroom area, you can also use Bobby Can Use the Toilet publication, and as I mentioned earlier, it just explains the process, sort of where you're actually going to be going, what it's actually going to be looking like, how you need to sit on the toilet, and it also has your pull-out chart at the back, which enables you to have a step-by-step guide. So this can be another way of actually introducing or reducing those fears and anxieties about being in the toilet area. So we've been able to discuss the external factors, but there are many internal factors affecting children sitting upon the toilet, and two of these include constipation and sensory needs. So during my previous videos, I've been able to explain how we pass a poo and what it means to be potty trained. So please have a look at these videos for further details. So when children hold onto their poo, avoiding passing a poo, according to Eric the Bladder and Bowel Charity for Children, means poo forms a poo traffic jam, and the longer they stay in the bowel means that more and more water absorbed and the harder the poo gets, meaning they get stuck. So I've got an example. So this is meant to be like my pretend bowel. So as the poo passed down, I don't know if you can see this, as the poo passed down, it then gets stuck. So there's more of a build up here. So, and the longer it stays in there, it actually means that the rectum then stretches. So as you can see, this is bigger than what it was before. So once it stretches, no new messages are actually sent to the brain, and the child has no idea that they actually need a poo, and this is called constipation. So constipation means passing formed soft poos less than 4 times a week, or passing type 1, 2, 3 according to the Bristol stool chart, in isolation or with looser type poos, or passing any large type poo at all. If you suspect your child may be experiencing constipation, it's a really good idea to monitor your child's poo and wee patterns and keep a record, and recording them on a bowel monitoring chart and a bladder monitoring chart for 14 days. An example of that is in the bowel monitoring chart. So it's just looking at the type, the size, what it actually looks like, and also when we're looking at the type, we're doing that in accordance to the Bristol stool chart, and that's just an example within the bowel and bladder assessment pack. So once you've got that information, you can then liaise with your GP and prescribing doctor or paediatrician and share the recordings, because then it shows them exactly what's happening. However, if you do feel that your child seems to be in any pain or discomfort, then I recommend you go straight away to your GP and discuss it with them. If you would like any support around the next steps with constipation, or you just want to see whether you should go to the GP or not, then please feel free to contact me. As a continence consultant or trainer, I'm available to offer advice and support and a step-by-step guidance of how you can help your child. A child's sensory needs can dramatically affect children's ability to sit upon the potty or the toilet. And I would really like to introduce my guest speaker today, who is Amy Carey, who will be discussing sensory needs in greater depth and how we can support children who are on the go or unable to sit on the toilet unsupported. So over to you, Amy.
Yes, so when we're thinking about sensory needs, it's important to understand that the sensory information we take in from our environment around us, but also from inside our body, is what helps us to interact effectively, move safely around our environment. So as Charmaine said, we're thinking mostly about sitting in this video. So the key senses that you'd be looking at for sitting and being able to maintain posture and balance are the proprioceptive sense, which is information from your muscles and joints. So your body is telling your brain all the time what position you're in, helping you adjust your posture, and your vestibular sense, which is sensors in your inner ear that are telling you about movement, about gravity. They help you to identify if you're starting to fall, starting to lean, so that you can then correct that posture. So those are the two key senses that we'd be thinking about when it comes to helping your child sitting on the toilet or the potty. So if we have a think first about the child who might be over-responding to information from their body senses, this would be the child who is very fearful of movement experiences. They might be wary of moving in backward space, so just the idea of sitting backwards onto a seat can be quite frightening for some children. They might be struggling to manage their posture and feel very frightened by those sensations that they're slightly off balance. So for them, it's likely to present as them being very distressed. They might be very anxious. They often will be trying to avoid using the toilet, come up with all sorts of excuses about why they can't get on the toilet. So if you're thinking about how do I help this particular child to sit on the toilet, one of the most important things is that they feel physically safe. So ways that you can do that: if you're using a potty, they can be sat, have the potty on the floor. You can get these potties that are more like a throne and they've got arms and a back, and the more boundaries they have, the more physical support they can feel, the safer they're going to feel, and the more willing they're going to be to sit still for long enough to use the toilet or the potty. So similarly with the toilet, you can get little sets of steps with handles at the top these days. If you look at the different types of toilet training seats you can get, there are some that have a little bit more pelvic support. They kind of wrap around the bottom a little bit more, and some of them have integrated handles that the child can hold on to. So again, anything that you can find that will help them to just feel more stable. Failing all of those things, you can always pop your hands on their hips, just to help them know that you're there and that they're safe and they're not going to fall. It's also important to think about how you might manage those kinds of things out when you're away from the home. So again, it might be that you need to use the disabled toilet where there are the drop-down rails that you can make use of, and again, just placing your hands there on their hips just so that they feel reassured. It's just about sort of taking away some of that anxiety about falling, and often children like that are wary of sitting over an open space. So you can play some fun games that are just sort of practicing sitting over spaces, so you could play musical bumps with a little rubber ring or something like that. You could play or act out Goldilocks and the Three Bears sitting on 3 different size buckets, or something similar like that. Just sort of fun ways for them to just experience that sensation of sitting over a space, and you know, accepting at their own pace that's something that they can do and they can tolerate. So for the child who's under responsive to information from their body senses, this is the child who you might hear described as a sensory seeker. They appear to almost crave sensory input. They're craving that movement, and that's the kind of child that will be bouncing off the furniture and just constantly moving. It's, you know, as if they can't get enough movement sensation. So clearly, to use the toilet, you need to be able to sit fairly still for at least a short amount of time. So for sensory seekers, that in itself can be the biggest challenge. So for these kinds of children, the most important thing is that you are giving them lots and lots of opportunities throughout the day for that really strong physical work. So you might have heard of the term movement breaks being sort of bandied around. Proprioceptive input from your muscles and joints has an impact on the nervous system for roughly 2 hours. So when we say throughout the day, we literally mean throughout the day. Every couple of hours they need a chance to really work those muscles. So if you're getting those regular opportunities in throughout the day, that should mean that those times sitting to use the toilet or the potty should be easier to achieve. Having said that, there are children who just seem to never have enough. So even so, that you might be able to incorporate some ways to provide that proprioception whilst they're sitting. So ways that you can do that, you could have, if you can find a ball of roughly the right size that has a little bit of give in it, that just fits between their back and the toilet cistern, so they can be pushing back against it, rocking on it, that kind of thing. You can have a box of fidget toys that you just keep next to the toilet. Obviously you need to sort of think about how you're going to be able to keep those hygienically clean, you know, but things like resistance bands that are easily wiped clean, stress balls, things you can pull and squeeze and stretch. Those are all ways of getting the proprioception through the upper body whilst their lower body is keeping relatively still on the toilet seat. Other things you can do really simply is just get them to do like a finger pull, so they hook their fingers together and they're pulling apart, pull, or a palm push where they're pushing together. And what that's doing, that's using all of these muscles right up to the shoulders, you know, providing some proprioceptive input. You can also get them to push up on the seat. Depending on the size of your toilet space, they could push out on the walls. You know, and again, that can be done with, you know, if you're out and about using a disabled toilet, there the rails there, they might be able to push onto. So again, having feet secure is a real key one. Just for them to feel like they've got some contact somewhere, and they can be bumping their feet on the footstool. They might have a little bit of difficulty positioning themselves centrally in the toilet, so you might need a little bit, just help them a little bit. Right, okay, this is what it feels like when you're in the middle. Don't want any little bottoms half on and half off. So those are kind of key ways. It's about how to give them the input they're needing whilst they're sitting on the toilet. And I'm sure Charmaine is full of other ideas for distractions and other things like that, but in terms of actually providing the proprioception they need, that's a really good way. You could also put, say, something like a weighted neck wrap around their shoulders. You'd need to think about what the hygiene consequences of that might be. But yeah, just a a few food for thought. And I think the important thing to also remember is that with both for the over-responsive child, they are going to need some time if that is stressful for them. Immediately after having used the toilet, they are going to need some time to just regulate themselves again. So opportunities for deep pressure, calming input, favourite activities, maybe having a snack or a drink, just something just to help them to regulate and get over the ordeal that they've just had, perhaps on the toilet. And for the under responsive child, they may then need an opportunity to just go wild and bounce off the furniture. So yeah, bear in mind that time immediately afterwards, how to use that to help your child get themselves back to a regulated state for the rest of the day.
Thank you ever so much, Amy, for joining me today. That was fantastic. So during this video, we have been able to share what the correct position for passing a wee and poo is, how you can encourage your child to sit on the potty in the toilet long enough to pass a wee and a poo, as well as explore the possible reasons why children can find it difficult to sit. So if you and your family would like any individualised support or any further advice from either myself or from Amy, then please contact me via my business page or email, and I'll attach the details, or contact Amy direct. So I look forward to continuing to support you as a family to help your child work towards being successful with their continence and, in the future, behaviour and sleep needs. Thanks ever so much, and speak to you soon.